if someone's actually rich like they say they are, why do they need to sell you a $1,000 course? I mean, after all, they do want to help you. They say they want to help you. Are they all just scammers? Do they actually want to help you with their programs? And what happens when you actually go ahead and buy their programs, when you go through these programs? My name is Yusuf, and I've made my first $1 million in profit at 17. I spent $250,000 on courses, mentorships, and programs. But here's what most people don't know about. For the past 3 years, I've been the guy actually behind these groups. I'm the one who built their funnels, their courses, and their entire backend system. And I've worked with coaches who flew out their students, paid for their tickets, hosted them in their own homes, fed them food and everything just to make sure that they got good results. And I've also worked with gurus who, let's just say, I stopped working with them and I turned down their money because I realized they were faking testimonials, they were faking a lifestyle, and they weren't genuinely helping anyone. So I've honestly seen both sides, and these were all questions that I personally had too. Because according to all the TikToks and Instagram reels that they're posting, all you have to do to live the amazing lifestyle that they're living is just buy their program. And maybe if you're a little bit more advanced, if you're a little bit more of an advanced business owner, what they're promising is, you can book 900 calls in your business within 3 days. And if that doesn't happen, we'll give you a personal refund along with, we'll send a personal massage therapist to your house, with no cost, no additional cost, whatever. You have all these like crazy guarantees that they're making. So is it actually true? So here's what I learned after spending $250,000 on courses, mentorships, and programs, as well as building dozens of actually good programs behind the scenes, seeing what makes the actual good things work. Basically, any program falls under one of 3 categories. And by the end of this video, you will know which ones are actually worth your time and money, and which ones you should absolutely stay the fuck away from and run as far as you can. But more importantly, you'll understand why wealthy and knowledgeable people are actually selling courses in the first place. Because once you actually understand that, you'll stop being cynical about investing in yourself and you'll start making way smarter decisions. The first category is exactly what you imagine it to be. It's an absolute scam. You go ahead and join the program, and all the information that is inside of this program can just be found for free online on YouTube, and probably in way better quality than what's found in the course. Most of these, programs or, courses, and I say courses in air quotes for a very important reason, they're essentially taught by these people who've maybe been in whatever space they're selling you this program or course or whatever the hell for less than a year. And because they've been, in this field for maybe a year, maybe they've gotten some results here and there, they all of a sudden have this like massive ego that they can promise you the moon and the stars, and that you can get amazing results just like them and live this amazing lifestyle that they have, which we all know it's a big, complete fat lie. So how do you actually spot these people? Because right now, with how everybody else is LARPing, which is basically like role playing that you're actually rich, how do you actually spot those people who are selling complete scams and they're completely fake? There are essentially 3 red flags. The first one is that they have no verifiable track record. So what they'll do is they'll show you, Stripe screenshots, they'll show you, maybe bank accounts or revenue numbers, right? The thing that they'll never ever do is they'll never show you, their expenses. They'll never tell you how much profit they're actually making. I've literally seen people make $500,000 in revenue and then lose $600,000 because their ad spend was through the roof and their refund rate was 40%, because again, their whole thing was a scam. The information that they're giving is all fake. It's not actually real. Like, you can learn more from watching YouTube videos like this than, they're $1,000, $2,000, $3,000. And sometimes, by the way, like, I've seen people literally charge $10,000 for information that you can find in a cheap ebook, by big actual trustable names like Russell Brunson and these types of people. They're selling a $10,000 program for the same information that's found in a Russell Brunson book. They can probably get for free as an ebook. So the first red flag is like someone who's just flexing revenue. The second red flag is they'll sell you the dream and not the process. So these are the people who are constantly, flexing new cars, private jet, this and that. But when it comes to you actually sitting down and asking them what is their actual process, right? They have nothing to show for. And again, there's nothing wrong with showing social status or social proof of like accomplishments and things that you've been able to buy. There's no problem in that. But you should also be able to back it up with logical things and explaining how you got there in the first place, right? The first rule to any of this is showing value, that you're actually knowledgeable, you know what you're talking about. But here's the thing, these scammers will never ever do that, because they realize like once they tell you the method or the principle, anyone with a brain who isn't brain rotted on TikTok scrolling all day can go on YouTube and figure it out on their own for free. They can read books, they can go on YouTube and literally learn for free without any of these like courses or mentorships or any of this shit, right? They know that. And so they're hiding their methodology. They're not telling you how exactly they do it. They'll tell you, oh, like I'm doing, insert business model name here. I don't want to get sued, because a lot of these people, they tend to sue a lot when you shit talk them and call it their scam. But, how I made my money is this. If you want to learn how, go ahead, click the link in my bio or DM me this word or whatever. And so when you go ahead and end up DMing them, they'll tell you, oh, if you want to learn how to do XYZ, you should buy my course. Or maybe they'll explain it in like very vague terms, like, oh, you should like work on your mindset and then work really, really hard and then reach out to a bajillion different clients. And then eventually when you sign, 50 clients, all at, $1K per month, then, you could be making, $50K per month, and you could be driving the cars and the lifestyle that I'm living living right now. That's like their whole kind of model. That's all that they do. Now, past that, the third red flag is that they've only been successful at one thing, which is selling courses. This is really one of the biggest red flags that you can find in any of these like gurus or mentors. And it's like the easiest to really spot because they've never really built a business outside of teaching you how to run the business that they're, so-called promising you that. Again, there's nothing wrong with monetizing your information and your knowledge. I'm so pro self-education and selling courses. I'm so for that. But again, if you've not made money in this specific space that you're talking about, you claim to be an expert, then you should shut the fuck up and actually get results first before trying to teach people. I want you to really think about that for a second. They're claiming that they'll teach you how to make money when the way they make money themselves is selling you the course on that. It's like a huge Ponzi scheme that is basically like covered up by Lamborghini SVJs and Porsche 911s, right? It's all like covered up like that. It's still a Ponzi scheme. It's all one big scam. And people like this actually reached out to me to work with me, and I've turned down their money because it's so easy to spot them. If you have 2 brain cells, you can spot a scammer like this from 20 miles away. Now, the second category is a little bit more complicated than the first, right? The first one was very obvious to tell. They're an obvious scam. You should stay the fuck away, right? And it's very obvious. You can tell who's a scammer, who's not, unless you're like a 12-year-old kid on TikTok who's being wooed by all this like lifestyle. It's very easy to tell who's a scam and who's not. The second category is a little bit more complicated. The information that's found inside of this program or course or mentorship or whatever, right? It's good. But the problem is that 90% of it can still be found for free online somewhere, whether on YouTube, whether in books, whatever it is, you can still find this information elsewhere. The mentor sort of packages it as this like all-in-one solution, right? And you could find everything, every single piece of information you will ever need, whatever, in one place. And they'll sell it for, $1,000, $2,000, even sometimes $5,000. But is it really worth that much money? Probably not. And here's the thing. These are people who've been in their, space, their field for, 1 to 2 years. They've gotten results. They know what they're talking about. But do they know enough to actually give you anything truly deep that you can't figure out on your own within like, 1 to 2 years? No, probably not. That's not actually how they roll. So I'll give you a personal example that I personally went through. I bought a $2,000 copywriting program by this guy who's been in copywriting for, 18 months. And then he's claimed that he's made, over $100,000 a month in copywriting, writing these email lists and VSLs and videos and whatever not. So the core pitch is like, not bad, right? It's like, okay, this guy knows what he's talking about. It looks like he knows what he's talking about, whatever. So I joined. And when I tell you the information inside of his program, his course, I literally found verbatim for the same, within like 3 books, right? It's taken from 3 books and 1 big YouTube video. I found the same exact phrases, like verbatim, like word for word inside of his program that he's talking about. So this guy basically spent, let's just say 10 hours, right? Reading these books and watching this YouTube video. And then he just spent like another couple hours regurgitating it in front of a camera, packaged it up into a $2,000 course and called it a day. So you can see like he didn't give me any insights that came from, right, like years of writing copy for different audiences and niches and all these things. He didn't give me any edge. There's no proprietary thinking frameworks. There's literally absolutely nothing. It was just all surface level bullshit wrapped in just a fancy Notion dashboard. Now, does that mean that he's a scammer? Well, no, absolutely not. It doesn't mean that he's a scammer. But is it worth the $2,000 that I paid? No, it's just definitely not worth $2,000. And here's the thing, like these people aren't malicious. They don't intend to harm you or give you, bad information. They actually think that they're helping you. They think that they know enough and that they can help you now. But unfortunately, they don't have enough, scar tissue yet. They haven't made enough mistakes and they haven't solved enough unique problems for them to be able to coach a lot of people. So what they're essentially doing is that they're teaching you tactics that expire, right? They're not teaching you principles. And that is the issue. Tactics expire, principles don't. Tactics are essentially like the new Facebook hack, or like, you should write your copy with this format or this, structure, this template, which then after all, like it will get saturated within, a couple months and then it will be cooked, right? So the value that you just paid, the $2,000 or however much you're paying your mentor, right? It's all just gone because he just taught you tactics that expire. Now, the third category is where it gets really interesting. These guys are the real mentors. Those are the people who have been in the game for, 5, 10, 15 years. They built multiple businesses, they failed, they succeeded, and most importantly, they refined their thinking. It's not just like they have one way of thinking and approaching things, right? They've refined their thinking. So they have so many different ideas and ways to approach things. Let me just give you guys an example. If you've ever been in math class in school, right? And you have, the teacher is like teaching you one way how to do like a multiplication, let's just say like multiplication or long division. And then you go back home, you watch another YouTube video, and it's a different method than the teacher, right? These are 2 ways of thinking, but the more methods that you learn, you always notice that the smart kids have a different method or a different way of doing math than the teacher. It is this way, it's like learning different ways of how to think and how to approach problems actually helps you so much more, and you can solve problems just as fast versus the kid who only knows one way how to, solve a problem, so that when different problems approach him in the test or whatever, and you've probably seen those like trick questions in math tests, when those problems arise, guess who's solving them really fast, and guess who's like taking us so much time counting on their hands? Like, again, there's no shame in counting on your hand, right? But it's like the more ways that you know how to think, the more strategic thinking frameworks that you have, right, the faster you'll get at solving problems and the better that you'll get at solving problems. It's the same exact thing in business. So let me explain how this works. Let's say I've been in business for 5 years, and in these 5 years I've made so many different mistakes, and those mistakes costed me $100,000, which like in the grand scheme of things $100,000 is nothing when it comes to like learning mistakes. I tried tactics that didn't work. I spent 6 months going down the wrong path. I just made so many different mistakes that overall cost me like hundreds of thousands of dollars, but let's call it for now $100,000. But during those 5 years I also figured out what did work, and so I developed frameworks for myself and for my team, and I refined my thinking strategy over and over again over these 5 years. Now if I go ahead and I take all of that, I took the mistakes that I've learned, I've took the frameworks and the lessons that I've learned and everything, and I put it all into a program. What I'm essentially doing now is I'm selling you time. I'm not selling you information, I'm selling you time. Because instead of you spending 5 years learning it all on your own, and maybe you will, maybe you won't, you actually just spent 6 months and you learn the same exact thing that I learned within 5 years. So the question isn't, is this course worth $5,000? The question is, how much is 5 years of my life worth? If you can compress 5 years into 6 months by only paying $5,000, that is literally a steal. Ask literally any wealthy old person and they'll tell you like the biggest asset that you have is your time, whatever. So the faster you can compress that learning time and those mistakes and those lessons and learn from people who have gone down that path that you have, right, and learn from them, it compresses your time and it makes it so much better. And you know what's even better than just like learning from someone who's been in the business? It's learning from someone who's been in the business and has been mentored by other people, because then that 5 years is actually 10 years compressed. So when you then compress their 5 years into your 6 months, then what you can be learning is that you can easily surpass them because you've learned from all their mistakes and their tribulations, and you've learned from their mentors' mistakes and tribulations, and you can kind of compress all these lessons into just 6 months, which is just so much more powerful. But that's all one side of the story. There's still another side of the story, which is they actually still have to be a good mentor. Someone who's a good practitioner doesn't necessarily mean that they'll be a good teacher. And I've personally seen it happen. The best mentors, whether the ones that I personally got mentored by or the people that I've worked with, not only have they spent years mastering their craft of actually doing the thing that they're claiming that they can teach you, but they've actually spent years learning how you can actually teach people, using different story modes, analogies, different ways to explain things, and knowing who you're actually teaching, knowing who your audience are and what things and what methods they actually use and how they process things in their brain. All these things basically fall under how you teach things. And these people, the reason why they're able to do that, the reason why they know how to actually teach is because they've worked with dozens, maybe hundreds of students, and they know what their thinking pattern is. They know what they're thinking. They know where they get stuck, and they know how to explain things clearly. And the most important part is that they genuinely care about getting their students results. And I've personally seen mentors that I've worked with fly out their students, right? Pay for their flights, fly them out into their own homes, pay for their tickets, their meals, everything, right? Make sure that they're taken care of. And they spent, tens of hours of one-on-one with them, not because they had to, not because this person, paid for their one-on-one mentorship or whatever. No, but it's because they actually care about their students. They care about these students getting results, and they wanted to make sure that their students actually succeeded. Those are the people that are worth learning from, not those scammy Instagram mentors who, you might even buy a course or a program from them. Like I've literally seen this clip the other day where it's like this guy bought this other guy's course and he's seen him in his Lamborghini or whatever car he's in, and he's like, yo bro, I'm inside of your program, and the other guy didn't even recognize him. Is that really who you want to buy from? Imagine you paid someone $6,000 for a mentorship or a course, and you go ahead and approach them on the street and they're like, oh wait, hold on, which program are you in? Oh, what? How messed up is that? It just feels very dystopian, and it just feels very crappy in a way. Is that really who you want to learn from? Obviously not. You don't want to learn from that. You want to learn from someone who will literally fly you out, pay for your tickets, pay for all your expenses, and spend so much time with you just to ensure that you succeed. So now let's answer the biggest question, the question of the episode. This is kind of like a TV show, right? The question of the episode: why do rich people still sell courses? If they're already wealthy, if they already have money, why do they need your money? Why do they need you to pay for it? Why don't they just give it away for people for free? Because if they really want to help people, they'll just give away for free. It's not that big of a deal, whatever, blah blah blah, right? Why is that the case? So here's essentially the truth. When you're working, let's just say, right, you're in a service-based business, right? So whether it's you're running funnels for people, or creating their content, or running their ads, or writing their copy, whatever it is, right? There's only so many people that I can work, right? There's only so many people they can go ahead and help. And so let's just say you're working with 10 clients. Each client, the work that you're doing, you're generating $1 million worth of value. And so your cut of that as like the service provider is like 10 to 20%. Because at the end of the day, it's not like they still have to do a lot of things. They still have the expertise. They have to show up on content, whatever, like whatever it is, right? Whatever your service is. So let's just say you make, $100,000 to $200,000 per client, which is, 1 to 2 million per year, which is like still really, really good when it comes to, service providers. But the problem is that you're still capped. You're capped at only 10 people. And so therefore your income is also capped. So what do you do if you want to help more people? Well, you can go ahead and use a course. You can use compressing all your knowledge, your frameworks and everything into a course. But here's the thing, right? Your course isn't going to generate, $1 million worth of value for your clients. It's really not. Like, you cannot guarantee, and you cannot, through a course anyways, give basically people $1 million worth of value. It's statistically impossible. Maybe one of your students becomes a millionaire, fine, right? But for you to say like, oh, I will make you into a millionaire if you go into my course, whatever, it's basically fucking impossible. And so essentially, if you take the realistic approach, you're probably going to help people maybe generate like $10,000. Out of that $10,000, if I told you, hey, I'm going to help you make $10,000, and in return, I just want $1,000 back, right? That is a fair trade, right? You're basically getting to keep 9,000 of those dollars for you, and I get to keep $1,000. It's a fair exchange. It's still that 10-20% that I'm helping you generate. So I'm able to help a lot more people, right? So for me to make that same $1 million, I can help 1,000 people, and I just get to package my stuff into, a pre-recorded course, whatever. I get to hop on a few calls to help a few people. Versus on the other hand, I would have had to, create, a shit ton of funnels. I would have had to work, really, really hard. I had to do the actual work. I had to provide a service, right? For 10 clients. Yeah, sure. I'm generating more value and more money. Yes, true. But I'm capped by the amount of people that I can help. It is the same exact money, right? It's the same money, right? It's at the end of the day, it's the same effort given, right? So for you to reach that level of income, for you to reach $1 million with this and $1 million with this, is the same level of effort that you're putting in, right? But you've helped 100 times more people, and you can actually still scale it a lot better. And here's the thing, like, people, and this is what I don't get, people get upset at this whole idea. It's like, oh, but you're still making money from it. Well, no shit, Sherlock. I'm helping more people. Why is that such a bad thing? If a doctor saves more lives, right? Invents something to save more lives, you're just like, oh, like, you're a piece of shit. Like, you shouldn't charge for this, blah, blah, blah. You shouldn't be making more money. No, obviously not. Like, the doctor is helping save more lives. He's helping more people. And so obviously it's okay for him to get paid more. If you're truly knowledgeable and you're truly helping people, then why wouldn't you want to help more people and get compensated for it? It's like such a no-brainer. And the alternative to that, if you're not going to do that, is, you're going to continue working with a limited amount of people, and everyone else that you could potentially be helping with your knowledge, with your expertise, and with what you know how to do, well, guess what? They're all left in the dark. They're left figuring it out on their own. Again, that's not better than the first option. A great course taught by a great mentor allows you to scale the impact and the amount of people that actually are helped. And yeah, sure, you make more money in the progress, but more people are being helped and more people's lives are being changed. That's literally the whole point, is for you to change more people's lives. So essentially now you have two choices. The first choice is you can be the person who's like, I don't need a course, I don't need a mentor, I don't need any of this shit, I can just figure it out on my own. And honestly, maybe you can, right? But the chances of you essentially taking down the same rabbit hole, the same exact path that this mentor has already crossed, and, talk to the same people that they've talked to, sit down with the same mentors they have, do all the same things that they have, are extremely, extremely thin. So maybe 2% of, successful people end up figuring it out on their own. That's why, like, people go to college, right? It's because they want to learn from people. Again, we can get into the whole college debate another day, but they want to learn from people who've done and have gone through the path that they have gone through, or they want to go through. So that's 2% of people they can figure on their own. The other 98%, they become stuck. And most of the time, people, they're not actually passionate about the work that they do. So once they find some sort of like calamity or difficulty in how they're approaching things, they're going to go ahead and, basically stop doing this thing and quit. Or your second choice, and this is choice number 2, is you can learn directly from someone who's gone down the path that you want to go down. You can learn from someone who's actually part of that 2%, who's figured it out on their own. And that's someone who's like compressed 5, 10, 15 years of experience into one program for you to sit down, within 6 months, and you'd be achieving similar results to what they're, promising. Obviously, I can't speak for every single mentor. I can't speak for every single course, but the general rule that I've personally seen from the good mentors is that's a similar sort of experience that you're getting. It's like you understand what made them successful in the first place, and you actually learn, and then you go ahead and you're able to use that information and compress the 5, 10, 15 years of progress into something closer to like 6 months to a year. You can skip the whole entire trial and error. You can skip the hundreds of thousands of dollars in mistakes. You can skip all of that. Now, does this mean that every single course that you see an ad to, or a VSL or a webinar, is worth buying into? No, obviously not. But it does mean that investing in the right mentor at the right time is one of the best decisions that you can make in order to compress time and save time for yourself. So here's what I'll say. I've personally spent $250,000 on mentors, courses, and programs, and I've built programs for some awesome mentors, dozens of good mentors who helped hundreds, if not thousands of other students actually achieve results with their programs. And now I've taken everything that I've learned, the systems, the principles, the frameworks, everything, and I've put it inside of Success Map. So Success Map is a complete operating system for anyone who's trying to scale a business to $100,000 plus per month. It's not tactics, it's principles, and it's not theory. It is what I've personally used to generate $20+ million in revenue by age 17 and $1 million in personal profit by 17. And it's also what I've used to help dozens of entrepreneurs scale to 6 and 7 figures. The full program, along with everything else that comes with it, is $49.97 one-time payment. Now, I'm not going to do some, high pressure sales tactic. I'm not going to tell you, hey, you should hop on a call if you're interested to hop on a call with my team. And, after an hour long of talking to you and pretending that we care, whatever, I'm going to give you the price. No, I'm just giving you the price right now. If you want to learn more about it, the link is going to be down in the description down below. And there will also be a link on that same page to book a call with me personally if you have any questions about it. I personally take those calls myself. There's no bullshit. There's no sales tactics. It's just a conversation where we're talking to see if this is actually a good fit for you or not. And because at the end of the day, I genuinely just want to work with people that I can actually help and who are actually serious about scaling their business to 100K plus per month. And if that is you, then I will see you inside.